The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the code NBSGPN to get a $1,000 bonus credit. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Get up to $70 per month in cashback rewards when you sign up at edgeboost.bet using the promo code SGPN. And welcome, everybody, to the NBA Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Friday morning, March 28th, roughly 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm host of the episode, Reichel. Once again, joined by Lonte Smith. And together, we're going to break down the Friday NBA card. I believe there are 7 games on the card. I want to say that there are 7. There are. So we're going to break down each of those games in a second. Before to that, though, Lonte, do want to ask you about yesterday's action. How'd it go?
Pretty good, I would say, as far as just overall handicapping the games. Lock and dog didn't get there. Well, the dog on the ATS got there, but not the money line. But yeah, the 124 Cleveland landed. I had one over 127, so that was kind of a little bit frustrating. But outside of that, I thought both of our analysis and viewpoints were pretty good. Did we hit underdog?
Underdog we did not because Buzelis had 12.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, but yeah. Other than that, though, it was a pretty good day, I think.
I ended up sweeping, so I can't complain. For the lock, I ended up having the Jared Allen double-double. I think he had like 29 and 15. He had a monster second half, but he got there easily. And then for the dog, I had the Bulls money line with Giddey over 7.5 assists, and that was plus 181 as Giddey hit the half-court shot to win the game. So overall, can't complain. That was plus 181, so a nice sweep for me. But I know that there were a couple of games that were definitely competitive that came down to the wire. You had one game that featured a 50-plus point blowout. But for the sake of the close games, I think we got to start off with the game of the night, which was definitely between the Lakers and the Bulls. The Bulls keep winning. I'm not saying they're a good team, but they're a fun team. And Kobe White and Josh Giddey have been tremendous together ever since they traded away Zach LaVine. I think they are now 9-2 in their last 11. They've been just fantastic, and the Lakers led by 5 with like 15 seconds left and give up 6 points in 6 seconds. LeBron had a late inbound turnover, which resulted in the three-pointer. Then Reeves hit the layup, and then Giddey hit the half-court shot to win the game. So I'm going to ask you about that game in particular first. Were you more impressed by Chicago or more disappointed by the Lakers? In those two, because I know you can make an argument that the Lakers had once again an easy win that they kind of blew at the end. They were up double digits in the third quarter. On the other hand, the Bulls, though, keep inventing ways to win games. You can make an argument that the Lakers should be, I'd say, ashamed of themselves because they had an easy win. They punted it. On the other hand, the Bulls did show a lot of mental toughness, and they were able to find another way to win, which has been a common theme for them for the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to ask you, were you more impressed by Chicago, or are you more disappointed by the Lakers?
I think I live in a world where I can be a little bit of both. I mean, the Lakers, once again, just poor execution down the stretch. LeBron with the careless turnover at the end. Austin Reeves makes up for it. Big shot to go ahead. And then, I mean, it's really nothing you can do about the shot. So
no, Giddey made it crazy.
Yeah, I don't really put too much on that, but it's just a part of leading up to that. I mean, the same thing against the Pacers. It's just that they were on the opposite end of that. Just funny how, karma works so quickly. But yeah, I would probably lean on the side of just the Lakers not finding ways to finish down the stretch. It's been kind of a recurring theme in some of these games throughout the year. But again, a lot of that was without Luka. So yeah, I mean, the shot was the shot. It was a great shot. He hit it. Not too much you can do about it. I mean, you're not defending a guy from 60-plus feet,
I mean, LeBron jumped at him. He just threw it over him.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not, yeah, I don't think it's. I mean, it's just a good shot, lucky shot, I guess you would say. But I'm more disappointed in the execution. But the Bulls, I mean, we talked about them yesterday. They just continue to find ways to win. They were down. They were up early. Lakers fought back in that second quarter. I think to pull it within like 3, and then the Lakers kind of took control in that third quarter. And I mean, it's a game that you're up 5. What you said, 15 to 17 seconds left. I mean, that's a game.
Yeah, they were up 16 entering the fourth quarter. They were up 5 with about 15 to go.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. That's a game you can't lose. So I would be more concerned with what the Lakers did. I mean, the Bulls have been showing they've been playing hard. They've been covering numbers, winning games. So credit to Donovan, man. Donovan's doing a hell of a job with that team, especially since getting rid of LaVine. I mean, I roasted them. I'm pretty sure a lot of other people did for their roster construction prior to getting rid of DeRozan and LaVine. But, I mean, they've been pushing all the right buttons as of late.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with more credit to the Bulls personally because I just think that Chicago, as you said before, trading away Levine, people were concerned that this team was about to roll over. I think we all thought they might. I know there was a running joke or maybe just a running, I'd say, comment that we all had on this podcast a year ago or so that this team was better when Levine didn't play. And then Levine got traded and they became good. So, yeah, I feel like that's been kind of a common theme that we've talked about with Chicago. But when it comes to Giddey and Kobe White, they have been just tremendous as a duo together ever since they traded away Levine. Giddey last night had another triple-double, back-to-back triple-doubles against the Lakers, had 25 he had 25, 14, and 11. Kobe White had 26, a casual 26 and 9. He had 9 assists too. So, once again, those two guys have just been phenomenal. Kevin Huerter was also very good. He had 21 points. I still don't know if the Bulls could have gotten more for Levine, which I guess is why people were kind of annoyed that that was the package they got as a whole. But it's been working out. So props to Chicago there. Definitely a nice win, a crazy win. And Giddey and Kobe White did their thing again. But to ask you about the other games on the card, I know that the Cavs did end up having a bit of a sweat there against the Spurs, but they ended up getting the job done there by 8. So the Mavericks win in a very ugly game against Orlando. I know Banchero had 35 points, but the Magic still did not even reach 100. You had the Pacers who scored 162, which is pretty tough to do. And the Wizards fans actually booed the Pacers because they took back-to-back shot clock violations intentionally in the last minute instead of trying to score. And the Wizards fans booed the Pacers for taking it easy on them in the last minute, which I thought was pretty funny. But I'm going to ask you, do you have any other games you want to talk about? Because the 162 is crazy.
Yeah, that is insane.
But the Wizards are also a laughingstock. So I guess if there was one team that was going to allow 162 in regulation, it would be the Wizards.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you, are there any other games you want to talk about?
Not really. I mean, that's really impressive. I think they had 124 with like 3 minutes left in the third quarter, which was insane. I was looking at that score. And it actually, the first quarter was rather lower scoring. I think they only had like 17 points through like, third of the way through the quarter. But
they ended up with 45 in the first quarter. So
so that just goes to show you just how well they played in that quarter. But that was really impressive, man. I thought they were going to score like 180, to be honest, and they probably could have. They just kind of let go of the rope, and that's off of a back-to-back. So
both teams are on a back-to-back, so that kind of cancels. But
so that's really impressive. I mean, I thought the Mavs, they continue to fight hard, continue to get production. I thought that's a great win. They were down early in that game as well. And Orlando had been playing well, so I thought that was a good win for them. So they're staying in range for that play-in at that 10th spot. So they're really feisty. So I thought that was a good win for them. Outside of that, I don't think much else really caught my eye. Oh, Jazz did it again. Fought the first half. Fought the first half. Got killed in the second half.
Yes, they did. Ended up losing by 11. I think they actually covered the spread, though.
They did.
The spread was like 12.5. Yeah. And then Portland got buried by the Kings. Sabonis had a great game at 22, 19, and 6. But I do want to point out, just for a quick joke here, the Pacers scored at least 37 points in every quarter. So the Pacers in each quarter, individually, scored more points than the Mavericks and the Magic did combined in the first quarter yesterday.
Jesus.
So that's something to keep in mind. There is one other game that I wanted to talk about quickly, which does involve the worst division in the entire league. It does involve the division that the Southeast teams are in, where you probably have a team with a losing record who's going to win the division, because right now the Magic are half a game back of the Hawks. Hawks are 35-38. You have Orlando 35-39, and you have the Heat at 32-41, 3 games back. Miami has won 3 straight, ended up beating Atlanta in a nice win there at home. Saw Hero drop 36 yesterday in a good showing. But I wanted to briefly talk about it because I can't really criticize the Hawks for struggling again, because I don't think any of these teams are any good. But I wanted to at least point out that the Heat are starting to play, I'd say, basketball that I could actually, I could recognize. Like, they lost 10 in a row and looked like they were dead to rights, but they've actually won a couple games in a row. So we'll see how they look in the, once again, remainder of the schedule. But wanted to point out Miami actually did look pretty good yesterday. Atlanta, we know on the road's not great. They're not good in general. But I wanted to point it out because the Heat needed a pretty big win there, for the sake of at least trying to remain competitive in that division with about 9 games left. and Hero came through. Can Miami win the division down 3 games right now? Maybe, because that division's really bad. But wanted to mention that one, which was a pretty important divisional game, even though all 3 of those teams, I think, are not worth anything for the actual playoffs. Anything else you want to talk about, or should we just move on?
No, I think we hit it all.
Cool. Props to OKC, by the way, for shutting down the Grizzlies. 15 points in the fourth quarter. That was a nice job by OKC.
Competitive first quarter, though.
It was a competitive game for the first 3 quarters, but then the Thunder, as I've said many times during the past year, there's one quarter where they end the other team's hopes and dreams, and they outscored the Grizzlies in the fourth quarter 34-15. So pretty on brand for them. I see Tyson mentioned the Magic are overrated. You're not wrong, but I feel like everyone's kind of been selling on the Magic over the last couple months. But scoring 92 and losing to the Mavericks, I know AD played, so that does play an impact when it comes to defense, but still not a good showing when your best player scores 35 and you still only score 92 points as a team. That's not a good sign. But anyway, point, it's time to get into the actual breakdown of the games for the Friday card. For that, though, I want to remind you once again that you can check out all of the picks and podcasts on the network at one place. Go to the SGPN app, wherever you do get your apps. Anyway, starting off with the actual first game on the slate. So we are going to go to the matchup between the Cavs again as they take on the Pistons. They're on a back-to-back. The Pistons are not. However, Cade is not playing in this game. Now, the line has dropped a little bit. I think it was at 6.5 overnight. Now it's down to about 4.5. For the injury report, Bates and Mobley are probable for this game. Jerome is questionable. Tyson's questionable. For the Pistons, you have no Cade, and of course, Ivy is out for the season. So we saw yesterday Cleveland struggle against San Antonio, but they got the job done there into the fourth quarter. I'd say mainly because of Jared Allen. What a monster game. But you have no Cade. The line's pretty short of 4.5. I know the Cavs do have a game against the Clippers coming up, so you could argue that it is a pretty decent look-ahead spot. But I'm going to ask you, who do you want to go with for this game? Because with no Cade, do you think the spread should be 4.5, or is the spread too short?
A lot of respect for Detroit, man. A lot of respect. With the win, they can secure their first winning season since 2015, 2016. So, I mean, they'll end up, securing a winning season here in the next year. But
it's all about avoiding the play-in at this point.
Yeah, they've been winning but not covering, mostly as a favorite. But now they're a dog, and they are 23, 16 and 1 ATS as a dog. So pretty good. But I mean, this is pretty short for Cleveland, man. I mean, I know Cleveland they played a soft schedule over the past 5. They're 4-6 ATS the last 10. This is their third game in 4 nights, so I can sense a little bit of fatigue. So maybe you want to look Detroit first half, but I mean, I think this is way too short. I mean, Cleveland's won both meetings. Both of those were in Cleveland. This was in Detroit, and they had a 3-point win in Detroit. No Mitchell in that one.
They played 3 times actually. Cleveland's.
Oh, they have. Okay, cool. Yeah, Cleveland's actually won 12 straight versus Detroit. So they've been dominant. I mean, they need to defend the 3 a little bit better. Cleveland does. Detroit doesn't really shoot the 3 a ton. They're like middle of the pack, especially without Cade not being there to kind of set guys up. So I think Cleveland, man. I think Cleveland's going to win this game by about 6 or 7 points. I'm in a spot where I would have took 6.5 with Detroit, and I would lay 4.5 with Cleveland, if that makes sense.
I feel like if you just want to take Cleveland, you could go 1-10 maybe in theory, but I do think for this matchup, assuming that Mobley's back and nobody else is sitting, I'll go with Cleveland in this one. Detroit's been good lately, but they haven't played anybody. If we're talking about Cleveland winning 3 in a row against Utah, Portland, and San Antonio, Pistons have won 4 of the last 5, beating New Orleans, beating Miami, beating New Orleans, and beating San Antonio. So it's like they played the same teams, and the Pistons also lost to the Mavericks in that span on the road by 6. So Detroit's been winning recently, but not against anybody worth a damn. Same with Cleveland, but Cleveland is definitely the deeper roster, especially with Cade, who is not going to be playing in this one. I'll go with Cleveland. I think 4.5 is too short. I understand the respect for Detroit, but I just don't agree with the line when you're missing your best player. And Cleveland, I think we'd agree, is the much better team on paper, who could be at basically full strength for this game. So I'll go with Cleveland as well for this one. Moving on to the next game, you have the Clippers taking on the Nets. Clippers are laying 12.5 on the road. The over-under in this game is set at 213.5. Second meeting this season between them. Do you want to guess how many points the Clippers won by in the first meeting?
Oh, yeah, I got the score right here, so I don't want to.
Oh, okay. They won by 59.
67.
They won by 59 back in January. So the Nets scored 67 points. Once again, 59 is pretty tough to do. but that's what happened when they faced off the first time in LA. Now, the Nets have been really bad lately. I'm thrilled. They have lost 5 in a row. Hopefully, they've realized before it was too late that they have to try to get a better draft pick. But for the Clippers, they've been in good form lately. Did beat the Knicks at home, or in their on the road, in their last game by 13. They have been playing well, though. They've won 6 of their last 7, beating some pretty good competition, beating the Knicks, beating the Grizzlies, beating the Cavs. So they have been playing well. You could argue, though, there was a lookout spot for the Clippers because they do have the Cavs on deck, which is taking place on, I want to say, Sunday. At Cleveland, so keep that in mind. For the injury report, though, I see nobody listed for the Clippers, and for the Nets, I see Russell, Johnson, and Claxton expected to play in this game. Zaire Williams, though, is questionable. So I'm going to ask you, because the Nets have been really bad lately, the Clippers have been good. I'm assuming the Clippers should dominate, but you could argue it's a look-at spot with Cleveland on deck. Where do you want to go for this one?
Yeah, I agree 100%. So I'll just stay with the team total for the Clippers. I mean, they have been unreal. Both of these teams 7-3 ATS, by the way. They've scored 120 plus in 4 of their last 5. They're averaging 119 in their last 11. So one of my best bets on the card is going to be over 114 for the team total. Brooklyn, I mean, I don't think they have enough. I don't think they have enough depth. Yeah, I don't think they have enough to defend the wings of the Clippers. Even if the Clippers go to their bench, I think they'll have solid bench production. Chris Dunn has been pretty good for them. What's my guy's name? The other guy,
Coffee.
Coffee. Derrick Jones Jr. They've all been playing really well. So I'm going to go over 114, and I also would go under the total 214.5. I mean, Clippers have locked down bad teams in their last 10, 11 game stretch. They 88 to Charlotte, 98 to Atlanta, 104 to Miami, and even OKC that we've known have been scoring machines. They held them to 105. So I think their defense is more than equipped to hold this team under 100. I mean, Brooklyn's under 105 in 5 straight games. 4 of the last 5 games have went under. So I think Clippers excel offensively, and Brooklyn does not do anything defensively. So I'll take the full game under, but a Clippers team total over 114.
Yeah, I think the Clippers probably end up dominating this game. The Nets might stay competitive, maybe pull a Utah and just stop trying in the second half, but I think the Clippers win this game by 15 plus. So I'll go with the Clippers in that one as well. Before we get into the remainder of the actual card for Friday, one of my points is brought to you by DraftKings, because if you want to bet on college basketball and March Mania, one thing is for sure, nothing is for sure. Upsets, buzzer beaters, 16-point blown leads in the second half by Arkansas. It's all going to happen. A point is, though, you can definitely bet the unexpected every day with DraftKings Sportsbook. They have live betting. They have exclusive content, promos, and parlays. DraftKings is the ultimate college basketball destination for March. First time, that's also a good thing for you, because new DraftKings customers bet $5 gets $200 of bonus instantly. So you can bet the unexpected with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app with code SGP. A reminder, code SGP for new customers to get $200 of bonus instantly when betting just $5 only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm is the home for AI picks and props. They're also off to a great start, helping you dominate March Madness. You can build your custom model in seconds, and it's very profitable to do so. Plus, they have models for NBA, golf, and coming soon MLB. Sign up, though, today for a 7-day free trial by going to the link sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RATHMM. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast. Finished breaking down the first couple games on the Friday card. Time to move on into the remainder of the card. Moving on to the next game, you have the Hornets against the Raptors. Damn, this game's going to suck. Where is the sound drop that I have to use for this one? Let me just quickly find it. I wish it was just easier to find all these sound. We have so many sound effects for this actual show. There it is. Now, for the actual injury report, you have no LaMelo, so it's probably a double flush in this game. You have no Okogie either. For Toronto, you have no Barrett, you have no Grady Dick, you have no Ingram, who I forgot was still on the team. You have no Agbaji as well. You do have a questionable Boucher, but Quickly is playing, Barnes is playing, and Jakob Poeltl is playing. So I'm going to ask you for this one. Toronto's laying 5.5. Charlotte's been a mess, and LaMelo's not playing. Weird things happen, though, with toilet bowls, but I feel like I got to go with Toronto at home.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you because I don't know if I want to put money on either team, but I've seen the Hornets play in general, and I've seen the Hornets play without LaMelo. No chance I'm betting on the Hornets without LaMelo.
Yeah, for sure, man. I like Toronto here. We're just looking at two. I mean, Toronto's they're
trying.
Yeah, they're trying. They're not really completely tanking, but I think they're trying to get that good fortune like Atlanta did last year, where they sneak up into the lottery. Or do they have their own pick? I'm
trying to remember. I feel like the argument, though, is that Toronto's trying not to anger the basketball gods by trying to actually win games instead of punting games. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but.
so I think they do have their pick, and they're still at the bottom. So they'll be in the lottery regardless. So you never know. I mean, Atlanta wasn't supposed to have the number one pick. I think they had like a 3% chance to get it. So you never know. Cooper Flag might end up in Toronto.
My understanding, though, this year Toronto has their pick and Atlanta does not.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I knew Atlanta didn't. Yeah. So their young guys are playing really well. I mean, if you look at like Jacoby Walter, even Mogbo was playing okay. The two-way guys were playing good. I mean, Charlotte is just I don't really trust their young guys. I mean, this will be their third straight season that they'll finish under 30 wins. I mean, that organization is a joke, especially after firing James Borrego, who had you in playoff contention pretty much every year with less talent, and you get rid of him for Steve Clifford.
Yeah,
and go back to the Dregs. So they pretty much deserve this. So Toronto 7-3 ATS last 10, 21-14 and 2 ATS at home. I think they bury Charlotte here. So I would lay this. I would probably lay an alt number like 9.5, 10.5.
I think they win the game and cover, but I also think this game should be a rock fight because you can make an argument Charlotte defensively will be better with LaMelo not playing. So I'll go with the under in this game. I think it's going to be a disgusting basketball game. Charlotte might not get to 100. In this game, Toronto's been playing pretty good defense lately. So I don't mind the under in this game as well, and I think Toronto should cover this. Do I want to bet Toronto? Not really, but they have been playing better, and they are 21 games under 500, but only 5 under at home. So they have been playing better in Canada all year. I think it's a good spot for them. The Hornets don't care. I mean, they're waiting for the season end at this point. LaMelo, I'm sure, is going to be, I don't want to say shut down, but if he ended up missing multiple games, nobody would be shocked because why would you even bother at this point? Give me Toronto in this one and the under. Now, moving on to the next game. You have the Knicks taking on the Bucks. The Knicks are favored on the road by about 1.5. For the over-under, you have 217.5. For the injury report, you have a relatively healthy Knicks team with the exception of Brunson being out. You have no McBride and you have no Payne. So besides the point guard position, the Knicks are pretty healthy. But you're looking at Kolek, who might end up getting the start here, of course, out of Marquette. For Milwaukee, you have no Lillard with the blood clot situation. Portis still suspended. You have no Jericho Sims revenge game, but you have Giannis questionable. According to Doc Rivers, he's expecting Giannis to play in this game. But we'll see what happens after he missed the game against Denver a couple days ago. For the, once again, matchup itself, though, Milwaukee's at home. The Knicks, though, are a team that have not played that well on the road lately. So we'll see what happens, but it should be a fun game. Total dropped about 3 points overnight. It was at 220.5. Now it's down to 217.5. I'm picking a very physical game that should be a war from start to finish. But I am going to ask you for this matchup, what do you like? Because based on form and I guess just mental toughness and I'd say coaching, I might go with the Knicks because the Bucks look awful. And with no Dame, I question how they're supposed to score. Because I think we'd agree the Kuzma acquisition has been very underwhelming. I'll put it that way at this point. Who do you like in this game? And do you agree with me about the Kuzma situation? Because it really feels like without Lillard, I don't know how they're going to score.
Yeah, I think it's still TBD on Kuzma because he's playing a role now that he was not going to play, especially when they get Portis back. So I think his role will be diminished and he plays better in a role like that. I mean, similar to what he's
but I'm saying right now with him having to take a bigger step forward, he's
I don't think he's that guy to do that. Yeah, so I will agree there. Man, this is a coin flip game to me. I really do. I mean, I really think it is. Milwaukee's returning home from a 5-game road trip. They were 2-3 straight up, but where it really matters, I mean, they're 4-1 ATS. They've covered 4 in a row and 7 of 10. They're decent covering at home. And again, these numbers are, with Damian Lillard as far as the ATS at home. They've got a better strength of schedule over the last 5 games than Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's lost to think they lost to Charlotte and the Spurs back to back, so that wasn't good.
You mean the Knicks, who lost back to
the
back?
Knicks? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, they've lost to Charlotte and the Spurs back to back. So, I mean, they're not good on the road. Even with Brunson, they're 16-20 ATS on the road. In their last 8, this is without Brunson, 2-6 ATS. But again, this is kind of a straight up thing. They were probably getting or laying points in those specific spots. This is pretty much a coin flip type of game. They have dominated Milwaukee as of late. They've won 4 in a row versus Milwaukee, dominated them both times this year. But again, Brunson had, I think, 44 and
Brunson would just walk into 30 in all those games.
Yeah, I think he had 44 and 32, if I'm not mistaken. And Cat played really well in that game as well. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the home team here, Milwaukee, kind of a get up spot. I mean, I don't really love it, but I do think we see kind of a rock fight type of game, especially with the defensive prowess of both teams being put on display. So I think first half under is probably one of my better bits of this game, but I'll just flip a coin and go with Milwaukee. Nothing strong though.
Yeah, so my main play was actually a player prop. I got Josh Hart under 14.5 points. I understand he might play a bunch of minutes. That's a lot of points for Josh Hart. Josh Hart's actually scored less than 15 points in 8 straight against Milwaukee. Makes sense because he can shoot some threes, doesn't really do so that often, more of a slasher. And when you have Lopez and Giannis protecting the paint, then you're going to have problems actually getting a lot of opportunities when it comes to getting layups and free baskets. Plus, we know Hart's more of a rebounder, more of a facilitator. Scoring is a secondary concern of his. So I actually like Josh Hart under his points. He could have a triple-double and still go under. It wouldn't shock me. But 15 points is asking a lot out of Josh Hart. I'll go with the under for that, especially for a total that's around 217.5 for this game. Moving on, though, to the next game. You have the Suns against the Timberwolves in what could be a play-in battle, actually. Before this matchup, you have the Timberwolves laying 7.5 at home, and the over-unders at 224.5. For the injury report, the Suns are missing Bradley Beal. You could argue that's addition by subtraction, but that's all they're missing on the injury report. The Timberwolves are missing nobody, fully healthy team. So the Suns right now are 35-38. Timberwolves are 41-32. Feels like Phoenix is going to get in to the play-in right now. You could argue that you might end up seeing a little bit more, I'd say, seed juggling over the course of the next few weeks. But based on the conference standings right now, the Suns are currently half a game back of the Mavericks. They're a game back of the Kings. Kings had a big win against Portland yesterday. I think Phoenix probably finds a way in because I don't trust Sacramento to hold on. But if the Suns missed, I wouldn't really be shocked either. Minnesota, though, is half a game back of the Clippers for the final non-play-in spot with the Warriors somewhere in between. So I'm going to ask because the Suns were pretty good about a week and a half ago, then kind of regressed back to being a bit underwhelming as they ended up losing their last game to the Celtics by 30. But they have won 4 of their last 5. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, so I feel the same way about this game as we felt about Sacramento-Portland yesterday. I think my numbers would tell me to take Phoenix, but the spot would tell me to take Minnesota. Minnesota's had 3 days off. They're well rested. They got some practice time in and watching film. So I think they kind of going to hit a stride here, but the number is telling me to bet Phoenix. First road game for Phoenix since 3-16. They defend the 3 pretty well. They shoot the 3 at a decent clip, but Minnesota defends that really well. And if you look at just matchup, I think it's kind of a bad matchup, similar to what we said about Memphis and OKC. Minnesota's dominated Phoenix. They've won 5 straight versus them. 4 of those covers. They won by 17 and 8 this year.
Well, you said 5 straight. Is that regular season or playoffs included? Because they
that should be just regular season.
Yeah. So if you include the playoffs, I believe they've won 9 straight against the Suns.
Yeah. So just been dominant of this team. They won by 17 and 8. Both of those were in Phoenix. There was no Gobert in that last game. Ant was been amazing. I mean, obviously against KD, he goes off 44 and 33 in those 2 games. That defense held Booker and Beal under 20 points also in that second game. I'm gonna go with Minnesota first quarter, first half, and then kind of think that Phoenix kind of keeps it close at the end. But just historically and just like mindset wise, I really think that Minnesota kind of just has their number. And so I'll go with Minnesota first quarter, first half, and then Phoenix for the full game.
Yeah, I think my favorite play in this game is actually going to be the total. I like the under in this game.
Damn, I like the over.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit high for me. Phoenix's offense has not been great recently, as they have scored less than 109 in back-to-back games, less than 113 in 3 straight.
Yeah.
Defensively, though, I know the Celtics went crazy last game, but they went crazy from 3. They've been fine defensively, gave up 106 to Milwaukee, 112 to Cleveland. Minnesota has not played that well. They have scored less than, just looking at the actual numbers here, they scored less than 104 against Indiana, only scored 115 against New Orleans. They really have not been consistent offensively. The last meeting, which was this month actually, in early March, was in Phoenix. That game did lay in 214. I think it's a meaningful game for both teams, but I do think the total feels a bit high for me, especially when you're factoring in Minnesota defensively has given this team problems in the past, and the Suns defensively have been better since reinserting a Dunn into the starting lineup. I'll go with the under in this game. Not really a strong opinion on this game either way. I think Minnesota's going to win, but 7.5 does feel pretty steep, but I get it. But I think I'm going to go with the under. It just feels like a number that's too high when I actually don't mind how both teams have played defensively recently. You mentioned that Phoenix is playing its first road game in about 2 weeks. That could result in some bad offense. Minnesota defensively should look sharp at home. I don't mind the under. The Suns scored 98 in their last game against Minnesota. I think the Suns will probably finish in the hundreds in this game. So I think that bodes well for the under, unless KD and Booker just have absolute monster games. But I think Minnesota can defend pretty well against this team. Give me the under for this one, even though you do disagree. Moving on to the next game, you have the Warriors against the Pelicans. Now, for this game, the Warriors are laying 14.5. For the over-under, you have 225.5. For the injury report here, you have Curry, who's a maybe for this game. Besides that, though, Gary Payton the second's out indefinitely, but that's all that is on the injury report for Golden State. For New Orleans, you have a lot of injuries. You have no Zion, no McCollum, and of course Murphy's out for the season. So you're looking at a starting lineup of Alvarado, Hawkins, Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, and Missy. That's the projected starting lineup for this team. Warriors, though, are off the embarrassing no-show against the Heat. We'll see if they bounce back in this one. Pelicans have nobody really worth a damn on the team anymore, and the over-under is in the mid-220s. Lonte, I'm going to ask you, are you picking the Warriors get-up spot, or are you picking the Warriors to look underwhelming on the road?
Yeah, I like the Warriors get-up spot, man, especially if Steph is back. They got to respond after what they put on display in Miami. So Jimmy was talking about them responding and not really dwelling on that specific loss and more on the body of work that they've done since he's got there. I kind of agree. Pelicans pretty much still walking wounded right now. So if Steph is there, man, I would lay this number. I mean, I know they're only 2-7-1 ATS in the last 10, but this Pelicans team, I mean, they've allowed 125 plus in 3 of their last 5 games. Spot-wise, Golden State, I know it's a big number, but Golden State's fighting for, that playoff seeding. So they're motivated to play. So I think they'll win and cover this number.
I think I agree with you. New Orleans defensively is not any good, and offensively, unless Hawkins or maybe Alvarado go crazy from 3, I just don't know how they keep up with this team, especially if Steph's going to play. Butler was really bad against Miami. I think he'll look better in this one. But it's mostly just the lack of defensive integrity that the Pelicans have, especially when you have Butler and Draymond who can find opening guys left and right. All the back cuts, all the actions they run. I'm expecting a bunch of wide open actual shot attempts for Golden State. So I'm going to go with Golden State in this one as well, laying the 14.5. Moving on to an even bigger favorite. We saved the biggest favorite for last. The Nuggets are laying 17.5 at home against Utah. The over-under is at 240.5. For the injury report in this game, Utah is officially sitting Markkanen, or actually, no, they were last night and yesterday, but Markkanen's now upgraded to questionable for this game. Collins, though, is out for the Nuggets, though. You have a maybe tag on Murray, probable tags on Brown, on Porter, on Gordon, and on Jokic. So for this game, Denver, we know, has not been great against bad teams at covering. They had a bit of a hard time against Milwaukee's team about a day or so ago when Kevin Porter Jr. had an almost triple-double in about 3 quarters. They ended up winning the game but did not cover. Do you want to lay 17.5 with Denver against a team that might be actively punting games?
I got absolutely nothing on this game, man. Like I said, I'm just going to continue betting Utah first halves, just simply because that's what's been working for me. I don't trust them to put together a full. Although their young guys are playing well, they're just not good right now. And Denver hasn't been covering games like you mentioned, so I don't have a ton on this game, Scott. To be honest with you, I would look at Utah first half if anything. Outside of that, not much at all.
I thought about the over, but the problem is Utah's been so bad in second halves, I don't think it's worth my time. Maybe first half over if you want to just pick Utah to stay competitive. There was an upgrade for the status of Markkanen. So if Markkanen does play, that does increase Utah's chances of actually doing something in this game. I don't mind the first half over, maybe. Just picking a track meet early, then maybe Utah takes their foot off the gas, and you ended up seeing Denver kind of just dominate offensively. But if Denver scored 140, none of us would be shocked. Because Utah doesn't even try to guard anybody. So I think that Denver probably scores 130 in this game. But over, I guess, because I think Denver can't guard anybody. But 17.5 is a lot of points for a team that has just let bad teams hang around. This team's 0-2 straight up against the Wizards. People don't realize that. They should have lost to the Austin Reeves-led Lakers with the G League squad a couple weeks ago. They lost to Washington the game after that. Almost lost to Milwaukee last game. They've just been messing around. Maybe Joker triple-double. I saw that was plus 140 overnight, but he could get benched before the fourth quarter, potentially, if they're up by a ton. I don't mind Joker triple-double, though. I think it's a pretty good price. But for this game, it's really tough to bet on Utah when you know that they're actively punting games in the second half. So maybe Utah first half. I'll steal your angle there. Give me Utah to keep this game close for about 24 minutes, but not for 48. Before we get into the actual lock and dog picks for the show, want to remind you once again they're brought to you by Underdog, because if you do want to use their Underdog pick'em, you can. You can play any sport, win it to 100 times your money. You could also mix and match with MLB, with NBA, college basketball, tennis, hockey, etc. And when you do sign up for your new account, use the code MBSGPN. The special getting first time deposit offer up to 1K bonus cash and fantasy promo code MBASGPN. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost, the premier business debit card for bettors. You can use the card to avoid being hassled at the sportsbook. I have a card denied at the sportsbook, divot site, etc. So you'll not be denied by using the card. You also earn $70 per month in cash rewards by using the Edge Boost card. Money saves, the card's FCC insured, and best partner credit checks. You're fully free. But you do want to get your actual card, use the link edgeboost.bet. You put the promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast. Finished breaking down the 7 games on the Friday card. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. Lonte, I'm going to ask you to go first. What are your lock and dog picks for the Friday slate?
Yeah, man, let's keep it simple. We're going to go with the Clippers team total. We're going to go with another team total. Over 114. Broke it down earlier. I just don't need to I don't want to read everything, but Brooklyn's defense will not be able to stop them. They're averaging 119 in the last 11. Not worried about a potential blowout because the backups can score as well. So Clippers over 114 is a team total.
Is that 114 flat, by the way, or is that 113?
Yeah, 114 flat. Yep,
okay, 114 flat.
Yep. Right. So we're gonna go over that, and I think they can get there. And for the dog, we're gonna go Toronto Raptors -9.5 plus 160. I think they bury Charlotte.
Okay, well, we are going to overlap a bit because for my lock, I am going to go with the Raptors, laying 5.5 here.
That's fine.
The one's too short. I understand the argument that Toronto is not really a team you might want to be laying points with. But then you watch them play and you realize out of all the bad teams that are nowhere near a playoff spot, this team's not that bad. I think that this team is playing good basketball. It might kill a future parlay for me, which I'm not happy about for a win total, but still. Toronto has been playing well. We know Charlotte's a mess. They don't guard anybody. LaMelo, I've mentioned many times my issues with him. But when he does not play, this team's a complete lost cause. So I question how Charlotte's going to score in this game, unless you have a crazy performance from Nick Smith or maybe Mark Williams. I just don't see many guys. But Quickly and Barnes should have solid games. They have solid depth. They have three-point shooting with Walter. Pirtle, we know, can be a good rebounding guy, and he could have a monster game too. I like Toronto at home, and Toronto's been good lately. So give me Toronto laying the 5.5 as my lock at -110. For the dog, though, I think I am going to go with what do I want to go with for this one? I thought about maybe going for a 1-10, but the question is, do I really want to do that? Are there any player props I might be tempted by? Sorry, just quickly checking to see if there's anything I like for this one on the slate here. Yeah, I think I'm going to play it relatively, I'd say, safe in this one. I think Minnesota's going to win against Phoenix, but I actually think Phoenix can keep this game somewhat close. They've been playing better lately, despite the recent blowout loss to the Celtics. I think that Minnesota, we've seen them mess around a little bit recently as well. Give Minnesota to win, but I think it's going to be a close game, actually. So I am going to go with Minnesota 1-10. at home, and you can find that available at plus 205. I think Minnesota has a couple of plays down the stretch to win the game, but I think Phoenix hangs in there more than people think. So that's kind of where I'm at. Anyway, though, that's going to wrap it up for the lock and dog. Now it's time for the underdog entry from us. So, Lonte, I'm going to ask you, you have any actual players that you are targeting for your entry?
Yeah, Tyler Kolek. I like his assists. He's back in Milwaukee, a building that he's played in numerous times. So he's got 17 assists. No, he's actually got 24 assists, 1 turnover in 3 games. So he's averaging about 8. He's had 7+ in 3 straight. He's going to be starting. Finally, they took, Thibodeau realized that he's a better facilitator, can play that kind of Jalen Brunson, a lesser role that Jalen plays.
I don't think you realize. I just think every other point guard on the team is hurt.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Well, maybe he just was forced to realize, but that's what he should have been doing. But yeah, I like Kolek, and I think we got to do something with Ant. Man, Ant has been killing Phoenix. Like I said, 44 and 33. I would look at his threes. I don't know if you want to go. Points might be a little bit too high, but threes is fine. Those are the 2 that I kind of like.
All right, so we can go with Kolek. That's at 7.5 for the assists. We can do that for fun in the spot start. For Ant, you mentioned the threes against the Suns here. Let me just quickly see. He's actually not done that well at threes against Phoenix in the past. However, his points are at 28.5, and he has scored at least 33 points in 4 of the last 5 against Phoenix.
Yeah, let's do that.
You might get done on the matchup, which I think could be intriguing, but I don't mind Ant once again going against the Suns here. So I'll agree with you about Ant. Go with the higher 28.5 there. And for the last one, I think I actually might go with Josh Hart for his points. It's actually down to 13.5. I got 14.5 overnight, but I still like it. He has had less than 14 points in 6 of his last 7. Or sorry, 7 of his last 8. So the points have really not been there, and I do think Giannis should play, which should help the rim protection. So I'll go with Josh Hart lower on his points as well. So once again, the plays here for the underdog entry, we are going to go with the Josh Hart lower on his points at 13.5. We'll go with Tyler Kolek on the same team, higher, 7.5 assists, and we'll go with Anthony Edwards higher on his points at 28.5. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the NBA show. We'll actually be back together later for the MLB show at around 5 p.m. For next week, to be honest, I haven't made the schedule yet, so we'll see who's going to do the show, but it will be either Lonte, Terrell, or I in some combination. You get the drill. Lonte, anything else you want to add before we officially wrap up the show?
Going to be a good weekend of sports, man. Hopefully we can we get some winners going.
Yep, hopefully, once again, we get some winners going. I'm looking for back-to-back sweeps. A reminder as well, I've been doing pretty well on the tennis show, so if you do want some tennis content, got you covered there as well. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.